What's up, dude? How's it going?
Hi, Eddie. Hi, everyone.
Well, I'm Eddie, since Eugene already said that. And that's Eugene because I said his name. So
Yeah.
And who are we?
We are just a couple of guys who like to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. And we refer to each other as the Middle-aged Barbarians.
Middle-aged Barbarians. I was looking at that camera because we have this set up and we're still getting used to it. But I dilly-dally not take time away from the Sorcerer.
Yes, the
Which
Sorcerer.
is what we're going to talk about today, Eddie. So
Yeah,
please.
a little bit briefly. But yeah, Sorcerer, magic user.
The new 2024 revised Sorcerer, not just any Sorcerer.
Yes.
So did you like it?
Yeah, it seems fine. It seems, I mean, at this point, well, we kind of see the logic of the system. So it's pretty much doing everything on par, but trying to give you new cool texture into the way the class now works and streamlining everything.
I mean, I can imagine it being a challenge for the game designers to make a difference between all the arcane users. Because, I mean, you have your baseline, which is the wizard. He's your standard ever since OD&D, or original red box, whatever you want to call him. Then, they started making variants, the sorcerer being the second one that I can recall.
Yes.
Arcane. And then somewhere along the lines, they started implementing a warlock, which is fine. I mean, but then that's 3 arcane users. I don't know if you want to count the bard or not as an arcane user. It depends on the edition you play or the way you see them. But you have these 3, so it's I imagine a challenge, what I was saying, for them to make each one of them special.
Yeah, especially since particularly the sorcerer and the wizard share a spell list, which could be the main difference you have. At the beginning, the sorcerer, the main difference was, this version has more spells per day. He can launch more spells. But the cantrip system kind of supersedes that now. So where does the sorcerer go for? Well, what they went for was making it, and that's the annoying word that we repeat every episode for this thing, but more flexible.
It's all about flexibility, choice.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of yoga, a lot of Pilates, and were flexible, but flexible in a different manner. Back in third, which is where we play the most, when we were young barbarians that had a lot of free time, they started with the meta magic feats. And that's kind of what they did to the sorcerer as a baseline. They make it the specialist on meta magic.
I mean, for me, somebody who never really plays magic users, I always thought of the wizard like the nerd, the guy who has the study, he has to look it up, and he has access to everything he can find, he can use. A sorcerer is more like an X-Men kind of thing, more like it's his power, that's what his deal is. So the meta magic, the way I understand it, is like they enhance their own raw power to make things happen.
Yeah, in the fantasy way, yeah, like you said, yeah, since they have a more limited amount of spells known that they can use, yeah, basically they become like their X-Men superpowers. That's a great analogy, yeah. So basically each sorcerer is very defined by their spell list. They have to be clever with what little they have, whereas the wizard can retreat, prepare a new spell list that's a perfect spell for the situation, or have a ritual spell that's a perfect ritual spell for the situation they're in, and use it. So yeah, it's functionally is very different, but at first glance, it looks kind of samey. And well, yeah, that's what they did. They went with this meta magic usage, and well, the meta magic options are very, very cool. They grant advantage. They enhance distance, enhance shapes, change the spells in many ways, which also works with the analogy of the X-Men sort of power, because it's the same spell, but it's changed in many, many ways.
Okay, and what's up with the new edition? What did you like, or what did you see that they brought into it?
Well, mainly, as most of this new edition, the subclasses bring a new flavor to the table. They kind of make them, which is also something that's very difficult with the spellcasting classes, because they're very spell-oriented. Their spells are kind of their identity. But in the subclasses, they work very well to flavors. I mean, they spoke particularly a lot about the arcane subclass, which, I mean, you can summon dragons. You can eventually transform into dragons, which is, I mean, it's very cool and very different.
That's the Draconic subclass, or which one is that?
That's the Draconic Sorcery, yes.
Draconic Sorcerer. What are the 4 subclasses that they came out with?
That's Aberrant, Clockwork, Wild Magic, which Wild Magic, they also kind of streamlined it, because Wild Magic is also one of those subclasses.
God, Wild Magic's been around for a long time.
Exactly. Like, I remember since advanced options for Wild Magic.
Edition, it was there. You had to roll. I mean, I don't know how different it is or not. I imagine it's pretty much the same. You had to roll like a die 100, and then from there you figure out what wild effect or crazy thing would happen. That could be good for you. It could be bad for you. It could be bad for everybody, or just really something awkward or cool.
Yeah, it could be something like a bad wish for everything. A wish level spell for everybody. Yeah, a lot of the times those rolls were hilarious because you rolled and then, now roll on this other table and roll on this other table and you get the actual effect. For
That's
instance,
a lot of rolling.
A lot of rolling. Sometimes it will be more powerful, less powerful. It's more streamlined in this version. It's more about the actual effects. It's not that crazy as it used to be, but it's still very interesting. And as long as the sorcerer, the Wild Magic Sorcerer grows up in power, they're able to control that. So they're able to give like the actual effects they want from within reason, from the table.
So a sort of controlled chaos kind of thing.
Yeah, or grabbing the forces of chaos. I mean, if you see, you have the Clockwork, which is kind of the planes related to the planes of law, and the Wild Magic.
That's what I saw. I mean, again, I don't pay much attention to sorcerers. What is I've never heard of the Clockwork Sorcerer.
Well, they use the power of law, and they summon things like Mondrons and do stuff like that too.
Mondron are like those weird constructs.
They look like minions from
geometrical
DreamWorks.
figures. Like
yeah, their names are the geometrical figure they're based on.
Okay.
So the Mondron is like a cube, and then they go into complexity and stuff like that. It's very
peculiar.
Yeah,
that sounds very peculiar.
Yeah, it's not the usual fantasy you'd kind of go into, but I mean, it's very interesting how that sort of thing works. And they get that sort of abilities related to that. They didn't reveal the actual way it changed. It's the same as Tasha's, basically, with the clarifications that they...
It's one of those new sorcerers.
New, yes.
I love all these new things they're bringing in.
I mean, like we said, it's like a game that is being revised, and the rules are probably going to be streamlined. But, I mean, we'll have to see the proper rules, how they're written in the printed, beautiful book once the producers manage to get us a few copies.
Yeah, I think in September.
Yeah,
sometime in September, they said we'll be getting our hands on the actual book.
Yeah, so we'll probably be able to use this new setup to peruse it live.
Oh, they threw down the challenge of doing another tier list, but with the actual full classes at hand, not just the preview. So we're going to wait a little bit and do that.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. More flexible, more streamlined, more clear what they do. Plus, the subclasses have this new way of working that gives additional flavor to them while keeping the sorcerer a general, not multi-purpose, but in its small focus, rather flexible.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's not. I don't have a lot to say about it until I actually see the new spells as well, how they work.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I know they mentioned a lot of changes to the spell lists, to the way they organize them, including new ones, actual new ones, importing ones.
Yeah, and the use of concentration is also something that worries me, how much concentration has to work, because a lot of the time, the few times I played a sorcerer, I mean, in third, concentration wasn't such a big deal, so you tossed around like a ton of effects. Oh yeah, I'll put bull strength on everybody. Well, one spell at a time, and everybody. Yeah. You enhance your whole party. I mean, you could actually do that. You had your sorcerer.
Performance-enhancing spells, man. That's the way to go.
Yeah, and that doesn't work that way now anymore. So
I mean, as long as they're not suffering like a ranger.
We'll have to see how
we'll talk about that later.
We've talked about it, but yeah. So I guess that's it for the sorcerer. I mean, it's not much to say. It's still the pretty same cool spellcaster. In my opinion, it's the best starter spellcaster because once you choose your spells, it's something that happens to me in my work, in art, in design. You have this million options, but once you choose like 3 or 4 things that you are the only tools you have in your identity, in your art, you can only use, for instance, triangles and circles, and they have to be either turquoise or red. If you only have those choices, you'll get very clever only with those choices. Whereas if you have like a billion spells like the wizard,
You can get lost.
you can get lost, you can get confused, and as a DM, you have to constantly be talking to your player to, I'm not sure what this spell actually does. Whereas if they have like 3 or 4 spells that they use all the time, but they're very, very ingenious in using them, well, that's a part of the challenge of the fun. So I mean, they were very good in focusing the class to that. So
I mean, just hearing that it's reminding you a bit of 3rd edition, I guess, is a positive.
Yes. Particularly the changing of the cantrip each level seems like as well the kind of as an answer to the getting stuck with bad spells, because that was kind of, well, not bad. No spell is actually bad, but getting stuck with spells that are not actually useful in your campaign.
Yeah, it sucks. I can imagine that sucks anyway.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, let's say you grabbed only those spells to enhance your party, and I don't know, there's actually no fighters in the party. So what do you do? So you have to change everything.
I guess that's a positive for the flexibility part.
Yes.
All right. Well, as usual, leave us your comments. What do you guys think about the Sorcerer class? Do you agree, disagree? What's your favorite subclass from the 4 that they showed? I think the coolest one I like kind of was the Draconic. I think if I were to play a Sorcerer, which I doubt it, I would probably lean
you
toward...
should, at least for DM purposes, to get a little bit of the hang on how to... Or make a Sorcerer NPC.
I can learn vicariously through my players. That's okay. Yeah, but I thought the Draconic one was kind of cool, especially if they're going to be adding more like summon lists and stuff like that they can work from. That'd be pretty cool. So leave us your comments. Come chat with us. We have access to a Discord. We'll leave the link below in the description. You can come join us there. We'll talk directly with y'all. We'd love to hear from you. You can follow us on Instagram at Matt Barbarians, Middle Age Barbarians. And I think, we're also on TikTok. You can find us there. We'll be uploading quick little videos. Sometimes we'll be doing lives and stuff. And
being really incompetent at it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely showing our age on these new fandangled means of communication. But anyway, so we will say goodbye as we do usually by reminding you to
rage responsibly.
We'll see you next episode.
Take care.